Today I'd like to talk about a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. I also hope it finds the right listener on the other side. So if you're listening to this and this is something that resonates with you, let me know. Please leave some comments, reach out in whatever way you want. But I wanted to talk about this idea coming from Buddhist teachings that we are not fundamentally screwed up. Definitely that's not a traditional way to represent it or talk about it, but that's the way I like to talk about this idea of Buddhanature when I'm teaching it in my Dharma talks. It's something really close to my heart because for most of my life I can remember feeling a pretty strong sense of hollowness. Sometimes this connected to a lack of feeling home. Of course, I had a home, growing up, but always feeling like I wasn't in the right place, or there was something wrong, or there's something that needed to be fixed or changed. So never really being settled in my own body. Of course, this related to some, anxiety issues that I've struggled with throughout my life. But it was a little bit more than that. It was really connected to this sense that there's something fundamentally wrong with me. And of course, there was like a feeling of hollowness with this, and sometimes like an existential crisis of, I don't feel at home anywhere, or where is my home was often like a question in my mind. And the more I talk about this openly with people, with either, students and mentees I work with, or sometimes when I'm giving a public Dharma talk, the more I see like this is a pretty common thing. A lot of us in the modern world struggle with this. We have this, a similar experience, and sometimes it plays out in, a lot of judgment towards ourselves, sometimes judgment towards others, sometimes a sense of anxiety. And for some people, it can actually be more intense, where they struggle with addiction and really serious life-threatening issues because of this sense of hollowness. So when I started to study Buddhism, I came across this term Buddhanature. Now, Buddha here, I'm imagining what you're thinking. You're probably thinking of like the historical Buddha, the monk, the statue, the photo, whatever. But actually, the Sanskrit term Buddha just means awake, right? Someone who's awake and can clearly see not only what is the cause of suffering and not, but they also have removed like a deception or an illusion of a separate self. And because of that, they see more clearly. They're able to be more open in their compassion and love towards themselves and others. And there's no restrictions. There's no kind of boundary to their mind. So the mind's very open. Definitely there's no judgment in that kind of awake mind. Now, we don't even have to go that far towards, enlightenment, but we can start to talk about this as a sense of a nature or a basic essence. So awakened essence or awakened nature. And this exists in Buddhist teachings because in Buddhism they believe that all sentient beings, from the smallest ant to the most important person or people in the world, all have this awakened nature as a potential or as an innate sort of essence. That's the nature of our mind. That is the basic essence of the mind beyond the physicality, right? So it's a big concept. So I'm not going to go so much into it. You can go search a little bit and find, more detailed teachings in Buddhism. But what this does reflect, and what I wanted to share with you today, is this sentiment, even this idea, just putting it in your thoughts a little bit, that we're not fundamentally screwed up. And the more we meditate, the more we see our mind, the more we hopefully see the nature of our mind, we start to taste this. We start to taste this also through Buddhist mindfulness, where the more we affect our response, our choices, healthy choices in behaviors, in how we want to relate to our emotions, thoughts, and how we want to speak to others, and actions we want to take. Recognizing when we made a mistake, being able to be honest about that, and have some healthy regret, but also try to not repeat it the same way in the future. This is all really based on a healthy sense of us or oneself not being fundamentally screwed up. I know for me, it was really difficult for a lot of my life to actually feel some efficacy in my choices or feel some efficacy in relation to things I wanted to improve about myself, or even being able to be honest with myself about certain mistakes. So it's very empowering when we start to reflect on this, when we start to touch or even believe that maybe it's possible at my fundamental nature, I'm neither good or bad. And so this is reflected in this sense of Buddhanature. We're actually beyond good or bad. But of course, our actions do have consequences. So this is very tricky when we're speaking in language, right? Actions have consequences, but what does it mean if our nature is beyond good or bad, right? There's still harm that can be done to ourselves and others, but our action doesn't define who we are. How we take responsibility, how we choose does, right? And so I just wanted to share some thoughts on this a little with you today. It's a big idea, but I just wanted to put out a video to start talking about this, get some thoughts on it. Let me know if you have any reflections or comments on this. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment here. If you're on Spotify or iTunes, reach out to me. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of share this idea with you today and see how it resonates. See if it starts to shift some of how you might even think of yourself, right? So we can start with that. Thanks so much for joining me today. Wishing you all the best.